Hey guys, Civilord here, back again with another edition of Throwback Thursdays, and what I have for you today is the Spawn Series 20 Spawn Classic Series 2 Overtkill 3. Now before we get into the meat and taters of this review, since I no longer have the packaging for this figure, let us first take a look-see at his one accessory, which is either a lamppost or a parking meter. Pretty sure it's a parking meter. Was this a thing with this character? Did he normally rip out parking meters and beat the shit out of Spawn with them? Because the only other time this guy appeared in any other type of media other than the comic book was like one episode of the cartoon, and in that he just had a bunch of guns and lasers that came out of him. Pretty sure he didn't try to beat Spawn to death with a parking meter, but you know, it is what it is. And if you have the new Spawn Megafig, this Overtkill Megafig, I mean, this kind of fits in its hand. It has one open hand, so you can have him pummel Spawn to death with it, although he is a good guy now, so that wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. But with that being said, that is his only accessory, which is fine because this figure is absolutely gorgeous and does not need any more accessories than just that one. And it should be worth noting it's got a little peg on it. Pegs into this hand here. There is like a peg on this hand, but there's nothing else that comes with this guy, so I don't know what the deal with that is. But and when I say this guy is gorgeous, I mean gorgeous in the most gruesome and grotesque way. This guy is an ugly son of a bitch, but he is an awesome looking ugly son of a bitch. So taking a closer look at Overtkill himself here. Look at the detail on this monstrosity. I paid $10 for this guy. You guys let me know if that's a good deal or not, but I can only imagine this thing was probably $20 when he came out. So to pay $10 for it, I think that's a steal. One of the last toy shows I went to in I want to say I got him in 2018. I got him in the fall of that year. Can't remember. Got him at the I think I got him at the Albany toy show, if I'm not mistaken. Not the Saratoga one. But at any rate, he looks awesome. He is really well sculpted, really well painted. Not sure if the Four Horsemen worked on this guy or not. They might have parted ways with McFarlane toys at this time, but god damn if this isn't an awesome looking figure, man. I love how this guy came out. Even though, as I said in my Overtkill Megafig review, he is essentially a action figure with some cut joints in it that don't really amount to shit. But at the same time, you can get a little bit of variety with the posing on this guy. So his head does rotate very minimally. That's because you don't want to break that gorgeous sculpt up. His shoulders rotate. Nothing in the elbow, I don't believe. I don't think these gauntlets move. But he does have the laser cannon sticking out of this arm. I think he has... Does he have ball joints? I don't think so. I think they're just cuts, and they feel like cuts. I can't tell if these are ball jointed or not. Try the other side. Nah, they're not. There's no way. There's no clearance for that. He also has rotation in the hand, so that's good. He has a waist cut, which works alright. He's got all these chains, which I dig and despise at the same time. They're not like glued in place, they just kind of hang around. He's got a worthless cut here in the leg. I wish his legs didn't even have any articulation, if I'm being honest with you. I will say he is not the best like figure construction wise. Feels super cheap. Like the plastic is not that great, but I wouldn't say he doesn't feel fragile like some of the other Spawn figures. Now what's funny is he does have an ankle hinge. There's no rocker in there, so really they could have just left his legs in one pose. But I guess this is a good thing in case he came out the box warped like Spawn figures typically do, because that's how good they are. You at least don't gotta deal with that. So I guess that's a plus side. But what a gorgeous looking figure. Again, in a grotesque and gruesome way. I mean, just look at this metal spine sticking out of his back here. This shit's insane. That looks painful, dude. And this is not, like, real. This right here. But gosh darn it if it ain't. It looks gnarly. I love how this guy came out. Love it, love it, love it. If you are into these more Staction-esque Spawn figures, then this is your man. I will say again, the chains are a bit of a pain in the nards because they like to kind of fall all over the place. Especially this side. I think this chain might have actually broke on mine. I think the chain link may have snapped somewhere in the middle there. I think this is actually supposed to be around his waist, so I might try and weave that. I'll just take this off for now. It's just gonna fall off anyways. This doesn't want to stay, so you know what? We'll just leave it off for now. I might even give this to somebody else. But look at all this faux chain you get. That's crazy. That is a lot. But again, I might try and wrap that around his waist because it just wants to fall off his arm. Again, I think it's supposed to be on his waist, so I'll see what I can do with that. Maybe get it on there. This one likes to stay on for the most part. But it is what it is. It's a kick-ass looking figure. But it does have its flaws, like many Spawn figures, but I think the sculpt and paint makes up for that. Looks like overkill, feels like overkill. Not so much smells or hears, because he can't talk, and he doesn't really have an odor other than that new plastic smell when you first open him. And much like the current Overtkill is technically a mega fig from back in the day, because he's absolutely massive. He didn't fit on a regular card for this series. He was in a box, like a window box, so can't beat it, man. Especially for 10 bucks. Again, you let me know if that's a good deal. I feel like this guy's kind of expensive, so it is what it is. Well, that being said, let's now move on and take a look at some size comparisons. First up, here's Overtkill 3 next to his Spawn Series 1 and 5 counterparts, and this should give you a pretty good idea of how McFarlane Toys' sculpt and paint evolved from looking more like Toy Biz figures to something really kick-ass and awesome. Next up, here he is alongside the Overtkill Megafig from the Spawn Universe line that I took a look at a couple of weeks ago now, so please check that out if you haven't already. But as you can see, while the new Overtkill may not have as much sculpt and paint detail, he definitely has Overtkill 3 beat on articulation, because while this thing is cool and all, I do really like it, especially for 10 bucks. You can't put him in a neutral pose, but just imagine if you could, because this guy looks like he would be much taller than this new Overtkill here. And last, but certainly not least, we have our two regulars, the Mythic Legion's Brother Mandibulus, beloved Spawn, who's not towering over everyone today, because while Overtkill's legs may be spread way out, as I said before, he is technically a Megafig, therefore he is more than a match for good old Al Simmons here. So with that being said, time to wrap things up with some final thoughts. Overall, and even though I do really love this figure and think he has an absolutely gorgeous sculpt and paint job going for him, in a twisted way that is, if I'm being 110% honest here, I think he would have benefited from just a little bit more articulation. Nothing crazy now, but maybe, just maybe, they could have threw in some hinge joints at the shoulders and a couple of cut joints at the elbows to give him a little bit more dynamism as far as posability goes, because as it stands, Well, he is in a fairly dynamic stance. He seems a bit compressed and congested and just feels a bit cumbersome and claustrophobic to work with at times because you can't spread his arms out to allow you to really pose the figure around. And while I do understand that this is essentially supposed to be a statue with a few points of articulation for adjustment, I would have liked to have been able to pose this guy just a little bit more. Again, nothing crazy, but just a little bit. That said, I do have to say I still prefer the new Overtkill Megafig from the Spawn Universe line. For that reason, I'm able to pose him around quite a bit as compared to this guy right here. Even though he doesn't have the best sculpt and paint applications in the world, I do like to pose my figures around some. So that one just edges this one out ever so slightly as far as fun factor goes for me personally. But if you're not into the new Overtkill design and much prefer the classic design like myself actually, then this guy is your man. You definitely want to try and track this guy down. And I highly suggest you do so because he is an awesome looking figure. He has a presence on the shelf. Absolutely gorgeous sculpt and paint job once again. And pretty much emanates the classic look for good old Overtkill. If I'm being honest, I don't know when the Todd Father's going to get around to remastering the first Overtkill. So this is your best bet for right now. With that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this week's edition of Throwback Thursdays. If you're so inclined, please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know whenever I upload more reviews like this one. And if you haven't already, please hit me up on Instagram at Overlord Productions. But as always, keep the comments civil because the world sucks enough as it is, especially when you can't experience the full potential a figure has because they are pre-posed. Imagine if we could straighten this guy out and get him to stand upright. Oof. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later.